In the bustling village of Gnimbleton, where gnomes lived harmoniously with nature, there was a spirited little gnome named Cedric. Cedric had bright, curious eyes and a heart full of dreams. One particular dream filled his mind every single day. The dream of baking a delicious loaf of bread all by himself. Every morning the village of Gnimbleton awoke to the delightful scent of freshly baked bread. The source of this enchanting aroma was Marinhild's bakery, a cosy little place where gnomes gathered to share stories and enjoy treats. Marinhild was a skilled baker, known throughout the village for her perfect golden loaves. "Oh, how wonderful it would be to bake my bread, just like Marinhild," Cedric often thought aloud, imagining the happiness of achieving this feat on his own. His friends, though supportive of his dreams, often looked at him doubtfully, expressing their concern. "Are you sure, Cedric? Baking is very tricky," chirped Nettle, a cheerful gnome with a twinkle in her eye. "It takes years to master, and Marinhild had her grandmother's guidance." I know," Cedric replied with a determined nod. "But I truly want to try. I want to learn and grow. Maybe I'll discover something new." With resolve in his heart, Cedric began his journey of learning. He gathered every baking book he could find, which mostly covered old recipes with strange symbols that seemed to dance on the page. Unfazed, Cedric studied them intently. He also amassed a collection of baking tools, a shiny rolling pin, a sturdy whisk, and the softest flour sacks he could find. The village watched Cedric's earnest efforts with a mix of amusement and skepticism. Yet Cedric felt sure of one thing: he must try, even if the road ahead was long and difficult. So one sunny morning, he rolled up his sleeves, picked the ripest ingredients, and set to work in his little kitchen. The task turned out to be more challenging than Cedric anticipated. The flour puffed into clouds that made him sneeze. The dough either clung stubbornly to his fingers or crumbled into a dry heap. And when he peered into the oven, the bread looked more like lumpy stones than tender loaves. But Cedric's heart never faltered. "Why won't it rise?" he groaned, scratching his head in confusion and mild frustration. But in his ears, a soft voice seemed to whisper, "Don't give up, Cedric. Every mistake is a step closer to success." The scent of Marinhild's freshly baked bread drifting by his window only fueled his resolve. Determined to learn, Cedric ventured beyond Gnimbleton, visiting neighbouring villages. He watched other bakers, asking questions and gleaning ideas from their techniques. Sometimes the whisk slipped from his grasp and clattered to the floor. Sometimes the flour heaps toppled. He returned home each evening, sometimes exhausted and often with dough on his shoes, but always carrying new ideas tucked into his heart. One evening, after a particularly trying day, Cedric plopped down on his favourite mushroom stool. "Will I ever succeed?" he asked softly. But then he picked up his rolling pin once more, wiped the counter clean and tried again. Days turned into weeks, and winter's chill nibbled at the village. Snowflakes danced outside Cedric's window as he baked batch after batch. His friends occasionally peeked in, offering encouragement, and Marinhild dropped off a few tips on warm evenings. Cedric's focus, though, remained on the dough. Time had almost blurred away the thought of giving up, as Cedric had grown to love the rhythm of kneading, the scent of yeast, and the warmth of his oven. His hands, though much flour-covered and batter-stained, moved with newfound confidence, and so the sweet aroma of success was not far away. All the while, little Cedric's enthusiasm painted a tale of perseverance in the very air he breathed. Then, one frosty morning, as tiny snowflakes twirled in the sky, something extraordinary happened. Cedric reached into the oven and pulled out a loaf that seemed to glow with a golden sheen. It was neither too flat nor overly puffy, but just right, savoury and perfectly browned on top. Cedric could hardly believe his eyes. "I did it," he exclaimed, his voice echoing in the quiet of his little kitchen. His heart swelled with pride, and for a moment he stood in awe, simply savouring the sight of his creation. The triumph of accomplishment filled him with a warmth deeper than any hearth could. He knew immediately what he had to do. Bursting with joy, Cedric decided to invite the whole village to taste his hard-earned creation. The very idea filled him with excitement, and he scurried around, preparing his home for the guests. As afternoon sunlight danced through the leaves, the gnomes of Gnimbleton gathered eagerly outside Cedric's cosy burrow, their breath visible in the chilly air. Word had spread quickly, and everyone was curious to taste Cedric's bread. "Welcome, welcome," Cedric greeted them warmly, his cheeks rosy with excitement. He carefully sliced the bread, thick, even slices revealing a soft, inviting crumb within. The moment the gnomes took their first bites, a chorus of delighted murmurs rose. "Cedric, this is wonderful," said Nettle, her voice tinged with sincere admiration. Others nodded in agreement, their faces blooming with approval. Even Marinhild, the master baker herself, smiled broadly, clearly impressed. "You've done it, Cedric," she said. "This loaf is truly something special." Her words didn't just praise, it was an invitation to share joy, work together, and perhaps even create new recipes. Cedric beamed with happiness, realizing that his solo journey had brought him not just skills, but a new sense of community and shared experiences. As the joyous gathering continued, the warmth of camaraderie enveloped Cedric's little home, making it glow brighter than the sunniest day. Gnomes chatted happily, sharing stories of their own challenges and triumphs. The village square, though not far away, seemed to echo with laughter and the delightful crunch of bread being savoured. Marinhild leaned closer to Cedric, her eyes twinkling like stars. "You've not only learned to bake but also taught us the joy of perseverance," she said gently. "Would you consider working with me at the bakery? Together, we can try new recipes and bring joy to everyone through bread." Cedric felt his heart lift even higher, if that were possible. "Yes, I would love that," he replied, feeling the warmth of belonging that came with working together. The path he had started alone had opened new doors, leading back to his community with new possibilities. As the afternoon sun dipped lower, casting golden hues over the snowy landscape, Cedric looked around at his friends, each one enjoying the fruit of his labour. The realization dawned on him that while his journey had begun as a quest for self-reliance, the true joy lay in sharing his success with others. When the last crumb of bread was joyfully consumed and the gnomes began to make their way home, Cedric stood at his door, waving farewell. The chilly evening air was softened by a deep sense of fulfillment. Cedric knew he had discovered something very special. With dedication and an eagerness to learn, he had not only baked the perfect loaf, but also found the sweet reward of community. As he closed his door, his heart was full, not only with the knowledge he gained, but with the understanding that new skills led to new beginnings, adding layers to the tapestry of life in the delightful village of Gnimbleton.
If you enjoyed this story, leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future content.